Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's episode. I am over here with my man Giovanni. By the way, every time I say your name, man, like it's the most mesmerizing thing. It's pretty cool to walk around being called Giovanni.
Thank you.
Um, I feel like we could like name like a car brand after you or like a luxury brand or something, you know?
Yeah, it's funny. I hated my name as a kid. I wanted to be Josh, David, Michael, or something like that because all my friends were like, where I grew up,
Yeah.
and having a unique name, you get a little tease, and now I'm like, oh, I love my name now. I love it, and just because I hardly hear it, and when people, say my name, I'm like, okay, no, they're talking to me, and I'm not confusing anybody else. So. It's I love it now, but I hated it as a kid. So thank you for the compliment.
That's hilarious, man. Well, I appreciate you for hopping on here today. So, um, I know we got I love you. You make it very easy to introduce you because you got your background going on over here. So, I know you're at the IT manager over at SavvyMoney over here, and I know you're out in LA, which is cool. Where I'm down here in Orange County, so we're kind of neighbors.
Mhm.
But to kind of kick this off, tell me a little bit more about yourself, like your background, experience, kind of what got you here, just to kind of tell the audience a little bit more about, what you've got cooking.
So yeah, like I said, my name is Giovanni Sanchez. I'm the IT manager, Savvy Money. I've been doing IT now for officially 8 years, 10 years. But I've always tinkered with something with anything tech related on the back end, behind closed doors, trying to figure out things and learn on my own. My background, funny enough, I've worked 20 years in the restaurants. So sales, customer service, hospitality type of that. 20 years in restaurants, 3 years in hotels, and just also sales. So I've always worked with people and in that environment, kind of like appeasing, exceeding expectations. But I've always wanted to work in tech. And when my daughter, my firstborn, my daughter was born, my my wife got tired of me just working at the restaurant. She wanted something better, and she basically said, "Hey, do something, or you could say bye." So it's a nice like, little driving force. I'm like, no, I gotta change. Follow you. I need to follow my dreams, start being comfortable, and so went back to school. Got a little bit of education, some solidified what I kind of already knew, and then took a leap and jumped into tech. Broke my teeth in call centers, field service technicians, and then finally, bit by bit, just kind of raising the ladder, up the ladder, to where I am now. And it's still to this day, my sales, customer service, hospitality background still lives and breathes with what I do today, and it's I think what's the driving force for why I'm here. Yeah.
What do you think has been? I mean, I know you kind of just sort of answered the question, but like, what for those that are aspiring to become, get into management positions and things like that, in the space of technology, what do you think is required out of an individual, and what type of tools or resources should somebody be looking after?
That's a really, really good question. I think to kind of what I think attributed to my me being in the position I am now is I was very open-minded. I didn't say, I hardly ever said no to an opportunity to try something new, whether it be, hey, this is completely over my head. I don't know how to do this. I might never know how to do it. I can't do it. I never told myself that. It's more like, yeah, I'll figure it out. And, it pushed me to just try something new, get me out of my comfort zone and, you know, find a way to succeed. And, in interviews, I get asked, what do you think one of your your best strengths is? And I'm like, I'm the type of person where you set an expectation in front of me. My goal isn't to meet the expectation. My goal is to exceed the expectation. It's my driving force to keep pushing, doing more, and learning more. And that does come from my background and where I was raised, how I was raised, where I worked in. But it didn't stop when I got into IT. I still use that as the driving force to learn something new, do something new, and just add to my repertoire, add to my resume of things that I've done, I can do, and really push yourself to what you think you are capable of. Like, saying the phrase "I can't" really doesn't help you in this. You have to just say, "I'll figure it out," and not being afraid of asking for help. Your pride is your biggest, obstacle. Yourself is saying, I can do it only by myself. Okay, great. When it doesn't go right, you're the only one to blame. So you have to be knowledgeable or understand or what's the word I'm looking for? You have to be wise enough to say, I need help, and then use your available resources to do that, to reach out. Um, Google is our best friend, and whether or not you want to admit it, it really is looking for help and asking for help from where all the resources you have is what's going to get you going for sure.
Sure. So can you kind of like share some insights for us on the like current landscape when it comes to cybersecurity and what you think organizations are kind of going up against these days, especially with like AI being a thing and just from your perspective, what you've seen?
So cybersecurity to me is no longer one single department. It's no longer where it's like, hey, you are the dedicated, devoted cybersecurity engineer. Now more, it used to be a little bit in the past from what I saw. More like, hey, this is a problem. This only goes to him or her, or whoever, and they take care of it. It's now very much the entire team tackles this entire thing, and but the lead is a cybersecurity engineer, whether it be, hey, we're going to ring up IT and we're going to ring up DevOps, dev, and try to figure out where the vulnerability is coming from. AI has made it a lot harder because it's becoming a lot more intelligent to disguise these type of attacks. Like, I mean, whether it be a simple phishing attack, smishing, or a sophisticated breach, it makes it harder to spot false positives. But if you are working with the team collectively, you kind of can see many eyes see the issues, so they can see what might be the issue, what might be the root cause, where's the vulnerability, and to basically fight anything that comes in with AI or regarding disguise with the disguise of AI. AI, I think I I believe that it's going to be more beneficial than scary, but if we are not able to adapt to it, then really we're just kind of shooting ourselves in the foot because it's like just having to be able to keep up in the race because AI can beat us in some of our own games.
How do you feel like? Do you think it's going to be a negative impact, a positive impact? Where do you like fall in that argument?
I think it's a positive impact, but I think a lot of people are becoming way too reliant on it. You go to conferences and everyone has an AI. Every single company across the world has AI, has a new, they mention AI, whether it be an AI algorithm to see your customers' data and spit out information, or AI illustrations, or any of that, like deepfakes. That's cool, but it shouldn't be the, it is the absolute future. No, I don't think that'll be absolute future. I think it can greatly improve our day to day, but it won't replace us. I
I see.
don't see it that as it's a hey, we're gonna go AI for every job. No, it's not possible.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting conversation to have because some people have that philosophy, but I've also been of like I feel like it's going to create like a whole entire new industry of opportunities,
Yeah.
and it's just going to possibly like shift the level of expertise that's required, or maybe instead of like for example, you got instead of somebody having programmers, they have some like prompt managers, for example, or prompt engineers instead of that. So like it's just this skill set shifts, but I don't see it like killing any jobs. No, that's for sure. So I'm curious. You said something about the fact that like cybersecurity is now like everybody's kind of issue, basically, right? It's not just this one guy, right? So how have you seen it impact end users and like what kind of advice would you have for companies to train their employees to make sure they're up to date with like what they need to do in terms of making sure they, don't get attacked or don't put themselves in positions of vulnerability and so on and so forth.
Education, and just kind of not in the sense of education that like formal education, going to college or taking a course. And it's like, no, just basically talking about it, making people aware of it. Like, using tools like Microsoft phishing testing or KnowBe4's phishing simulation and training, just to basically get people educated in the matter. Like, you know, um, if the conversation doesn't ever start, then really there's no way that you can expect someone to know what to look for. Nowadays, we have know before in our environment, so it is a requirement that you have to go through our cybersecurity training within the first week of starting, because we work in the financial industry. We have targets on our back. Great. You need to be our eyes and ears. I can't protect everything that's going on 24/7. I don't monitor your phones. So really you have to be aware of what is happening. And it doesn't start unless the communication and the education starts. And we've seen significant drops in people, being attempted to be breached or anything. So better yet, we see enough drops in attacks because we have the security layers there to prevent it automatically with AI. But we also have a significant rise in false positives because my end users are now looking for the little tidbits of information that I said, look for this, pay attention to this, so that way you can double check, you can ask yourself, is this legitimate? Is this fake? Is this text message expected to get a package from UPS? No, cool. It's an attack. It's this. It's some type of attempt. In the past, people would just click, 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 and now would say I think it's a good metric. I have tons of false positives, means that people are questioning what they're seeing, and that makes my job a lot better. It makes me happy because I'm like I have everyone on their toes, and at
Mm,
least I'm not the only person watching our entire environment to keep it secure.
I see. Okay. It's interesting. So it's just really making sure like everybody's just aware at
Yeah,
the end of the day.
know
Do
what
you
to
feel like
look for.
do you feel like companies don't have that conversation often or like what they just kind of sidetrack it or
Those conversations have a lot of companies have those conversations after they've been breached,
ah
after they had an event. So it's been too many times where I'm like, well, what's your security protocol when when a compliance officer comes in, or if you have law enforcement when something's been breached, were you trained? Uh, I was given a paper to understand the policies of IT, but no one ever trained me. That's not enough nowadays. Due to COVID, with COVID, basically just the rise of types of attacks that came in. And I make that very well aware when I'm onboarding somebody. I'm like, you now are a target, and we are going to educate you from this moment forward. Many companies don't do that nowadays. Actually, I can't speak on that. My experience in the past where many companies didn't do that.
yeah,
It, they only did it hindsight, which really, does it help
it's
you?
too late.
It's a little too late. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. So how do you like explain to me like approaching a balance between security and user convenience? Especially in industries like yours, I see that being like a challenge because like, it's a very fast-paced moving environment
Yeah.
and sometimes more security equals more complexity
Yeah.
sometimes. So
Yeah.
how do you balance that?
Oh, that is an amazing question because it is a pinpoint and a pain point that I've asked myself a few times where how do we do about this? You want your users to be able to do their work. You want your customers to be able to have faith and trust that you are securing their data, but you also want it to be as efficient and as smooth as possible. So the way that works out is setting up the gateways and blocks that prevent you for certain that protects you from different points of view. Like If someone simply just needs email access, okay, we'll set up the email access with multi-factor authentication with maybe a touch ID, face ID, something to make it easier to streamline so they're not, the end users aren't saying, hey, it takes me 3 minutes to log into my computer because of so many walls to get through just for security purposes. We didn't want to do that for security, just for security sense. We wanted to make sure that it was a fluid transition. So partnering up with the right vendors with the right product to make it streamlined for you is really key. Like our data, our internal data, our code and developer really there's the standard security measures that we have on top of 2 to 3 additional layers of security on top of that. So it's more of like the zero trust type of idea where I'm like, hey, do we trust you to access this information? Yes. Okay, no worries. What type of information are you accessing? Is it this level of priority? Great. We're going to trust you with a limited amount of access and no trust at all. But everything else that might be more like day-to-day operational that doesn't have any access to data, okay, let's make it easier for you compared to the other steps we have to do. And luckily for us, I want to say we built it up a lot better. But you go through your audits and everything, and whenever we get our compliance information back, we little to no deficiencies, which is something I can proudly say and be and say that this is the first time I've ever been somewhere where I'm like, we built it correctly for us and to make sure it's working, kind of like the roadmap for the future.
What would you say was like your biggest success factor in building those systems?
Um, Utilizing our identity management software, along with our um, um, VPN agents that runs on all of our systems. It's able to geo-track your location and say, hey, you're outside of the zone, you can't do this. You're on a hotspot, you can't do this, or you currently disabled your two-factor authentication. We know you don't have it on, you're not going any further. It's working with partners like Okta, like Cloudflare, integrating that correctly with the correct permission rules with our AWS instances where it says you can't access this data if you don't meet this. And we can build it out correctly through Okta partnerships and through Cloudflare partnerships so that way it is more secure.
Very cool. Giovanni, this has been great. Thank you so much for all the advice. I hope I hope I didn't hit you with the questions that were too complex. I just like to I've always been curious on these conversations because like I see this being as like the top challenges a lot of managers like yourself and just people in management tend to face. Security is a interesting thing. It's like a necessity, but your typical non-technical individual that wants nothing to do with it. So you're constantly facing that battle 24/7.
Yeah, it's a challenge to say. I mean, I would be first to admit that I'm not an expert of those matters, but I do deep dive into those that interest me to kind of maybe better set myself up for the future. And I ask a lot of questions, whether it be in LinkedIn, whether it be my colleagues, just kind of poking, prodding, and trying to, like yourself, trying to say, hey, what do you see? What do you do? What can we do? Oh, I learned something new from there. I learned something great from that. And it's just being curious about cybersecurity makes you more aware, more of an expert in cybersecurity. So yeah.
Do you have like a final question here? We'll wrap it up. Do you have like a group that you go to learn about these things? Like, how does somebody keep up to date with such a large industry like this?
So I literally just had this conversation yesterday with my team. Um, there's the LinkedIn game, which in professionally speaking, when you LinkedIn just being a platform for professionals and everything, a lot of your resources are there too, just to ask questions. Whether it be in like a Cisco security group, you join the security group for say the Cloudflare, your vendor, whoever, and you just join those and just look at the conversations. I mean, plain and simple, you join the forum just to be a fly on the wall. You Reddit. Reddit's a super useful tool, joining the security forums, the Reddits for Cisco, Okta, sysadmins, and you just kind of see what people are talking about, and you peek your head a little bit here and there. Links and articles to Ars Technica, things like that. I'm like, great, I didn't know that was coming. Like, that's cool. It's cool to see what's going on, keep you up to date. But I don't think there's one thing that, I mean, it's just more of understanding like, hey, I have this resource, jump in. And you don't need to be engaged, just listen, and that's
And just
it.
keep an eye out open. Reddit is very addicting. I love Reddit. I'll get on there and just read forums for days.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you can go into a huge rabbit hole with Reddit. It's hilarious.
yeah.
Giovanni, so where can people find you? I know you got your LinkedIn here on the bottom right. So is that the best place to contact you, or
That's the easiest and simplest way. I mean, I probably have my LinkedIn open all the time, just looking to see what's coming down the pipeline. And easiest way to reach me is that way too.
okay, awesome. We'll make sure to link you up there. I appreciate your time again. Thank you so much for hopping on the show, my man.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it, man.
Take care.